Hey everybody, it's Josh with Stalls. We're excited for another live tutorial broadcast, and we have a good one today. So I have some different performance polos that I need to decorate, and we're going to do that together. We're going to walk through the different considerations, the steps, give you some how-to advice. In addition to the how-to advice, we're also going to talk about pricing and costing a little bit. So make sure you shout out. Tell me who you are and where you're watching from. We're broadcasting into our YouTube channel, also our assorted Facebook pages and groups. So hopefully we get a nice crowd today as we explore this job. So I'm back in my home office today, and I'm trying a new setup. My daughter helped me clean out my office, which was a disaster after 3 months. And she gave me a window view. So that's the glare you're seeing in my glasses is my window view. But we're going to hopefully be able to maneuver with the cables today to get you all of the angles you need as we go through this job. So good to see you this morning, Craig from Washington, always up early joining us. Good to see you, Rachel from Philly on the other side of the state. I'm just in the very southwest corner of Pennsylvania, almost in West Virginia. And good to see you, Ednita, watching us as well. And we have folks that are managing the comments. So if you have questions throughout today's live presentation, feel free to type those in. I'll take some of those live on air, but the folks, Jenna and Joe, that are following the comments will help to answer those on the different platforms as well. So with that in mind, let me grab these polos that I want to talk to you about today. So we have... Well, I'm decorating about, I don't know, I ordered about 7 polos and maybe 5 t-shirts that I'm decorating for a friend, a pastor actually at the church I go to. And so I have the church logo, and I'm going to process that in heat transfer vinyl. Today we'll be using Ultraweed. I'm also going to talk to you a little bit about the high vis color reflective product that I have on my shirt here, and show you how that can be positioned. Maybe we'll get some time to apply that one as well together. And but we're going to start up front in the sales presentation. So imagine you're selling to a customer now. You guys know that I'm a fan of the good, better, best presentation method, which basically means presenting 3 choices to a customer, and only 3 choices, no more than 3 choices. You can do 2, but no more than 3. And allowing them to decide, because when you present too many options and choices and it's not clear and specific, people have a tough time deciding, and you end up pushing out the sale, and people can't come to a decision. Maybe they never do because you make it too complicated. And so the garments we're going to be using today, and I'll pull up the style numbers here in a second, but I have like a house brand from Sanmar. It's a Sport Tech. It's 100% performance polo. I'll share the style here in a second. So I would consider this my good option. So economy brand, still a nice quality, good price. Actually really like this style that's available now, and I'll show you a little bit more about that. And then we have a potentially better and best choice. So typically you would see the Ogio line, which is a step up in the Sanmar line, be in sort of the middle ground, a little higher end for sure, but I would normally position this as a better, with the Nike polo here as the best. But in this case, I'm going to switch those. And mainly that's because of cost. And the reason that this Ogio polo costs more is because it has that pattern to it. It has some different design style to it. So it's a little higher end. And I went with a little bit more of the economy on the Nike polo side. And so you'll see these 3 options. We're going to decorate those today with different materials. But let me jump into the pricing and the costing of those so we can start there. So sharing my screen. Just doing a little bit of design work over in CADWorks, but for right now, I'm going to go ahead and pull up my Excel grid so we can look at that together. Zoom in just a little bit more. Okay. So these are the style numbers, because I know you guys always ask about those. So if you want to screen capture this or jot them down, again, the good rating is the Sport Tech Endeavor Polo is the style. It's ST467. It's really nice. The cost will vary depending on the quantity that you buy, but I just put in a general cost there so you would have some idea. We're going to position this one with our white Ultraweed material, which is our latest CAD cut heat transfer vinyl. The reason I love UltraWheat for performance wear in general is because you can apply it all the way down at 260 degrees. So I'm going to leverage it across a couple different applications here, and I'll talk more about that. We'll actually cut it and weed it together. At the better option, that's where we have the Nike Tech Sport Dry Fit Polo. There's the style number, and you can see the cost, so quite a bit more. We're going to potentially position that one to the client with a navy color, just so it stands off a little better on that orange. And then at best, we have the Ogio Elixir Polo, style number, cost, and we're actually going to position that with black high-vis reflective. So before I go too deep on this, I just wanted to share some general costs, some general styles, so you could get an idea of it. Now I do want to go over and talk about artwork a little bit. And you can design in CADWorks Live and build something from scratch, but usually when we're working with someone that's ordering a polo, I would say generally they're going to have their own logo, typically a business client of some sort that's going to be ordering a polo, or a school that already has an established logo for coaches or whatever it may be. And so a lot of times you're going to be working with artwork that's provided to you. Now, of course, if you can request vector artwork, it's going to make your life a lot easier. So when I go to the wireframe view, you can see that the client, in this case, the church, had vector artwork set up. And so it's going to make my job easier. I'm not going to have to charge them an art fee to be able to vectorize it. Now, if they didn't have vector artwork, if they had a raster file, JPEG, PNG, bitmap, one of these styles, CADWorks does have a vectorization tool where you can actually go to File and click Import and Vectorize and attempt to do a trace on it if it's a high quality image. I'll give you a quick example of that, because I recently did one because I was just making a shirt for my daughter for the dance recital, where I grabbed this diamond. It was called the 10th Carat, was the name of the dance recital. So typically does really well on black white images. This is one I did for my daughter for her shirt. Actually, this I did for my sister. So I'll grab that one. It's a little more detailed. But this was a raster file. Basically something she had designed on like Canva and not just exported as a PNG. In this case, CADWorks will walk you through selecting the background of the image. And you just click on that, click next, and then you select the foreground colors. In this case, black is my only foreground color, which is great. Click next, and then CADWorks does a trace for you. You click OK, and it quickly converts that file, which is huge. Right, so let me zoom back so we can see it. It quickly converts that file to a vector. So that's not our lesson today, but I wanted you to have some scope that you can trace files from customers. Typically, I would charge them for that. I would have an art setup fee, because there's a chance you won't be able to do it as quickly as I just did it. You may have to manually trace it if you're a designer in Corel or Illustrator, or you may have to send it out to a service to get vectorized for you. There's a lot of services out there at Stalls we can vectorize for you for a fee as well. And basically you want vector art. And so the reason I wanted to talk about that is because when you're dealing with business clients, one thing I like to do is reuse the same art. So I can take this artwork that they've provided, rather than having me set up 6 different files for a low quantity order. It's best if I can centralize on one art file, and that's going to allow me to, do some creative things, like do it in different colors potentially if their brand's open to that. In this case, navy and like a Vegas gold are the colors. But rather than spending my time on these polos with the 2-color design, I'm going to do a white only option, which is pretty typical. Any brand is usually happy with the white only option. Usually I would do a black only option, but because navy is in the color scheme, I'll do a single color navy option. And then I'll have the reflective. And a lot of times when you're working with special effect materials like reflective, you'll be able to take some creative liberties. I'm going to use black on black to get the tonal effect like I have on my shirt here, which is blue on blue in reflective. It's just a really cool look for performance wear that brands like. It stands out. It looks really high end, which is why I've positioned that in the best category. So again, get it to vector art, get it to the size that you want to operate with. In this particular case, let me zoom out a little bit. I have sized the design down to 3.75 inches wide by just short of 2 inches tall. It's 1.72 inches tall. Measured on my polo, that's the size of the logo that I want. Your size of your logo will vary, but typically you see something 4 inches or less proportional height or width, depending on the style of the design for a left chest placement, unless you're intentionally doing something super small or oversized. 4 inches, 3.5 inches is a good size to start with. So once you have it in Vector Art, this is CADWorks. It's our free online design software. I'm just going to hit File, Send to Vector Cut, which is a cut driver that's part of CADWorks. Bring up my screen a little bit closer for you. It downloads it, right? You see it there in the bottom toolbar. And so then I will just go and select to open that. It's downloaded in Chrome. It'll open Vector Cut and pop the file for me. I'll move it over, and then we can get a look at it. Now, if you don't have Vector Cut or Vector Cut won't drive your vinyl cutter, you can always export as a vector PDF. But the point is you want to get it to your local unit off of the web to your cut driver, and then we'll be able to work with it. So cutting from heat transfer vinyl, you guys know, we're always going to mirror that image, and then we can make our multiple copies for our material. Now, I do have a 15-inch material loaded in, so I'm going to change my width of my material to about 14 inches to accommodate for the pinch rollers. And then I can decide how many copies I want of this. Usually, if I'm cutting one, I might as well cut 3 or 4 and use the width on a small logo like this, because those size scraps that are only 1.72 inches tall, I almost never reuse when they're that size. And so I'll just make use of the width of the material. And so make a couple copies here, see how many I can fit across this material. Looks like I can fit 3 across. I'd have to rotate one here, but I want to try something just to see. Let's move that one to this size and play a little Tetris with it here. Where I'm going to, I'll just double click and I'll rotate that. Let me see if I can drop one in just by rotating it, just to get an extra design without using more material, and I can. So be creative with how you're using your material to make sure you can get the maximum yield. So we have 4 here. I'm just going to readjust those on my page to make sure they're not exceeding the boundary edge of the material. And at that point, I'm ready to load my cutter and send the cut job. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and load the cutter and send the cut job. So let me grab a roll of Ultra Wheat here, and we'll load it onto my machine. You get a distant view right now of the cutter. Eventually, I'll bring you up close, but I want to show some more stuff on the computer. So I just have a roll of Ultra Wheat. This is the navy color. That's the one we're going to cut live. It's actually called light navy. We do have a regular navy as well that's just launched in the product line, as well as a athletic gold and a royal blue. So we're constantly adding colors. Those colors just added earlier this month, and I know we have 4 more colors that'll be added later this month as well that are coming. But I'm just going to load that material into my vinyl cutter. I'm using the Graphtec CE6000. It's not the latest unit. It's actually 2 generations back, but any vinyl cutter will cut this material. I personally own the Graphtec and enjoy using that because it can track straight for long lengths, as well as cut in front of the pinch rollers, and it has a really high quality motor for accurate cutting. So my downforce, Ultra Wheat is super thin. So when you first use this heat transfer vinyl, I've heard from a lot of you that are having cutting issues because you're cutting it too deep or your blade's out too far. You want your blade barely sticking out. My downforce on this cutter is only at an 8, which would be equivalent to like 80 grams of downforce. You can typically, with a fresh blade, start cutting this stuff at a 7 or 70 grams. So if you're having cutting issues where it's jamming up with Ultra Wheat, odds are it's your blade setup. So I'm just going to move my blade a little bit to the edge, program my origin. I've already cut some white material earlier, so I know that my downforce is accurate, and I'm just going to go ahead and send my cut job over. So over in Vector Cut, there's just the option down in the bottom, send cut job, and we'll let that go to work while we talk a little bit more. So I'm going to look here, see if there's any questions at all coming in. Don't want to lose anybody. Hey, Jonathan, what's up? Good to see you this morning. Ken, good to see you. Good question so far. And we're going to dive into this here in a second. Do you typically just double the garment price or use MSRP from suppliers? So we'll talk through costing and pricing, and I'll give you some ideas around that here in just a moment. So hold on to that question. Good to see you, Darcy from Alberta. Good to see you, Greg from North Carolina. Maria, good morning. Russ, good to see you as always. Okay, I think we're good on questions. Maria, I'm not sure I understand the question. I think it's the blade settings. Where do you send the blade settings? So the blade depth on most cutters is typically a manual adjustment on the blade. Once you have that set in, I find that very little blade can cut most materials, and you just need to adjust your downforce. And so you make sure you can figure out how to get to the grams of downforce on your particular cutter. That's going to be a really important adjustment if you're switching between, say, ultra weed right now and reflective. I know I just cut reflective earlier. That took like 250 grams of downforce for me versus 70 grams right now. And glitter is closer to that 200 plus grams of downforce. You need to make sure you know how to adjust that on your particular brand of cutter. You should be able to find that in the manual. All right, so this is cutting. Let's talk a little bit about what this stuff costs to make. And so we've created a cost calculator for you. And I know our folks will share the link to this, but I'll walk you through it and know that we're going to share the link so you can download it if you don't have it, where you can enter your shop's overhead percentage, and this helps you calculate it. Enter the hourly rates you're paying to the weeding person and the heat application person, even if that's you, pay yourself. I always say that. And then I'm going to populate the data for the job once I save that. So step 2 is here, how many number of cut designs per garment? In this case, I'm just going to do a left chest logo like this. This is the reflective one that's already cut. I'm going to do this left chest logo. So it's one layer, one cut design per garment. So I've entered 1 here. If I were doing the original 2-color design that I showed you in the logo, I would just put 2 cut designs, right? And then it's going to say, how long is it going to take me to cut and weed each design? I put 2 minutes. How long is it going to take me to heat press each design? Probably only going to take me a minute. I'm going to put 2 minutes just because lining everything up and making sure it's straight. Excuse me. And then here is cost of the blank garment item. So remember, over on this spreadsheet that we reviewed up at the top, we have our shirt costs for our different items. So let's go ahead and operate with this Sport Tech, which was our good option at $9.69. I'm going to enter $9.69 for that. And then enter the number of garments sold for this job. I'm only creating 1, but typically, of course, you'd probably be creating multiples. You can just put that in so it calculates your job price. And then your design size. So in this case, we were doing that roughly 2 by 4 inch design. It was 1.72 by 3.75. So I entered 2 by 4. It's going to tell me how much time I need to plan for production on the right here. It's going to tell me how much material I need to cut the job. And then if I scroll over to the right here, it's calculating the cost to do that job for the various materials. So if you remember, we were using Ultra Weed in white. And we were actually, for that color shirt, which was the dark navy, we were using Ultra Weed in white going on to this Sport Tech navy polo. And so we can see our material cost in Ultra Weed is 11 cents, which includes 15% waste. Heat press cost 44 cents, weeding and masking 45 cents. Overhead is $1.60. It's going to vary by shop. Garment cost $9.69 for a total cost of $12.29. All right, and so it would multiply it by the number of shirts in the job if you had entered something different than 1 here. But we can see it costs $12.29. So just for perspective, if I were to do that same job, because it's such a small logo in our high vis reflective, I just want you to see this. Because it's a small logo, it's only going to cost me, a quarter more to do it in a premium material. Now, I do have to have the material on stock, etc., but you get the concept. It's only going to cost you a little bit more to be able to upgrade the finish. So I want you to keep that in mind as we go through our sales presentation with how we present the product. So one thing I did is I've already populated these numbers to save us a little bit of time. So let me unhide that so we can take a look at it. And you can see that our total cost, the $12.29 that we just went through the model on, the other costs for the other garments in our good, better, best scenario were $24.13 and $28.97. Now, some people, the question we got is, what do you sell it for? Do you just operate off the MSRP? And the MSRP is typically found on your wholesale vendor site. So I think that's a great price as a gauge for what the market will bear based on what the manufacturer of the garment sees. I really don't like the double your cost method. I know a lot of people probably watching use that. but I worry about that. On this particular scenario, it may work, but let me just show you this. So on our good model, it is about double the cost. But honestly, I didn't even look at the cost when I came up with this price. I just thought through how I was going to present the 3 garments and what the market would bear for each and how I wanted the customer to move throughout the sales choices. So you could see, I thought the market would bear for a nice performance polo, economy style, but still very nice. I felt $25 was achievable. Why don't you guys go ahead and type in what you think you could sell that polo for? And so that was just this Sport Tech performance polo. It was the ST467 with a single color white print on a left chest. I feel like you guys are all going to say between 22 and 32 bucks, but we'll see what you say. All right, but here you see that profit is really good, $12.70 per garment that I'm decorating here. So either way, we're making really nice profit when I'm doing a job like this, especially if I cannot get buried in art setup time. Next, at the good option, which was the Nike option, and let me just hide a couple things so we can see it here. So you can see at the good option, or the better option, the middle option, we put the selling price at $39.99. So I feel like a brand like Nike can command a higher value. You see the jump up here. We're making $15.86. I think if I listed this at $48, it may be too big of a jump from the 25 to the 48. Customer probably wouldn't make it. And what I'm talking about is doubling the cost. But it's going to take me as much time to do the Nike as it is the Sport Tech. So if I can get them to jump to the Nike at the $40 price point, I'm going to make $3 on every shirt they buy, $3 more in profit. And so I like that, right? And so why don't you guys type in what you think you could get off of the Nike polo with Navy Ultra Lead, just a single color Navy left chest logo. And then lastly, we see our best option is $28.97, and that's our Elixir Ogio polo that has the pattern in it, a really nice style. And again, I'm even upgrading the logo here to a reflective. It has this sort of style and pattern to it. I'm going to say we can command $44.99 out of that, which again drives up the profit to $16.02. So you start to get the idea that you can command a lot of profit when you're in these premium categories. Small logos, so very little material usage, which we love. You guys love. I don't love. I'd like you to buy more material, but I'd like you to be profitable too. And so this small logo business is really profitable. So if you can focus your business a little bit on quarter zips, jackets, polos, you're going to find you can drive your logo cost down. You can do some things that other shops aren't doing. It's not as competitive as t-shirts, and you can command some really nice margins. The other thing that I want to show you here was just another option. And so what I would imagine as I was walking through this scenario is a customer may like this Nike polo, but they may say, I like that, but can you give me reflective on that? Because the customer always wants something different than you show. So I want you to be prepared for that. And if you remember, the reflective only costs us a little bit more than the basic logo. So the answer, of course, would be yes. At least we've got them down to a style. And I would say, yes, we can do that. And even if we sold it at the same price, we would still be at similar profit margins. And I'm guessing that you guys would say, yes, I can do it for $2 more, right? Or $1 more, something to drive a little more profit in your pocket by giving them the upgrade. So I just wanted you, to see that. There's some people typing in that they could command 35 to 38 for the Nike, which is about where we're at. Allison says she can command 45 for the Nike. Russ says he can command 45 for the last one, which was the price we were at the $44.99. And then there was another comment, if I can find it here. Ken says probably $40 on the Nike, which is right where we're at. So I think we're all saying the same things. You can command these prices. I just wanted you to have a framework of how to be able to present these options. So feel free to ask questions on that. But I love good, better, best. I think makes it easy. I got a mad face. Why are you mad today? Whoever's mad today, it's sad. We'll try to make you happy when we apply these products and show you how to make money with them. But let me trim off these designs and we're going to weed them together. All right, so I'm just advancing the material out. I'm going to take my razor blade and trim it away. I have my weeding tool over here, and we'll try to bring you up to a close look so we can see it here. Point it down. This is the Ultra Weed product in the color light navy. I just want to show you the experience on weeding. Basically, we estimated 2 minutes, right? And so in this particular case, see if I can find my design here. I need my light. I'll start to weed the excess away so we can get a look. There it is. Okay, I did put a weed border around this. Let me grab my scissors so I can trim one off so we can get a look at it here. I want to weed one so we can time it together. All right, so there's our one design. And again, if I'm estimating 2 minutes to weed it, I just want to show you the process. We're going to start removing the excess. I always say with heat transfer vinyl, sometimes on weeding time, I like to overestimate, because if you get into a jam on details, sometimes it'll hang you up a little bit. And so a lot of people like to go really fast when they weed. I find that moving slow on fine detail, like you see here, how I'm just weeding really slow. If I have any little hangups, it gives time not only for me to see those hangups, but it also gives time for the to reposition any details that may lift up in the weeding. You shouldn't have details lifting up if you have the right cut settings. In this case, having an issue right there. So let me just get in there and hold that down. And then start back over here. And pulling it away. This is really small, so I'll hold a ruler up to it here in a second so you can see. And peel away. All right, so basically we have our design. We just need to pick out the centers now. Probably about a minute in weeding this design. It's going to take my little Stahl's Easy Weeder, which is a tool that looks like a dental pick. I know I've heard some people like to weed with an X-Acto knife. I guess it's whatever you learn. I think that would be really difficult for me, but for those that learn that way, I'm sure it's easy for you, and you probably like it better than the weeding tool. But find a tool that works for what you're doing. And I like the weeding tool because I can get several pieces on it at once and kind of remove them together. It's just really quick for me to work through. So we have that design cut. Let's see if I can find I put my ruler. Again, we know the overall size of the design, but I wanted you to see some of these thin lines and text, what we're talking about here. So this bottom line is about a 1/4 inch tall. So the bottom line with the really thin lines, it says Baptist Church. That's about a 1/4 inch tall to give you some perspective of the level of detail you can get with the product. Probably, I know some of you have cut smaller. Again, it's a balance, sharpness of the blade, whatever you're doing there. But now I have my navy design ready to go, my white design, which I pre-cut and weeded earlier, and my reflective design. And let's bring you over to the heat press and click my light on so we can get a nice view of heat application and some tips and tricks. Going to take some questions here in a second as well. So we're over at my Hotronix autoclam. I wanted you to have this view for one reason. When you're doing polos, having threadability, having it completely open under the machine is a really big deal. It's going to give you a better quality product, especially when you're working with performance fabrics. And so the tools that I'm going to use for the job today, one is my heat press. I like a threadable design. If you have a Stahl's Max or an autoclam and you don't have it on a caddy, which is what I have here, which is the floor stand. We also have a countertop version of that caddy. If you don't have it on that, you're wasting time because you could be loading stuff easier. You could be accommodating more items. So make that one of the top things on your grab list is to get a stand or a tabletop stand for your press. Also, as you know, if you guys have watched before, which I know most of you watch all the time, we have the interchangeable attachments where you can swap out and go to another platen. But I want to show you a different way today, and I'll explain why. When I'm doing polos, you can definitely use the 6x10 platen, but I want to use the 16x20 platen so I can see the full print area. And that's going to help me with hitting my left chest placement accurately. So I still need the threadability to be able to split that polo and load it on, because especially on this, this is the back of the shirt. There's a center seam in the back of the shirt. And so this center seam, if I were to just lay the polo on there, it's going to print through and cause a scorch mark completely across the front of my shirt. So any of those uneven pressure areas that want to print through are going to cause issues for you. So I like to split the whole thing and load it on, let any seams and everything hang below. I get a nice full view of the print area. And then what I can do is I can just raise the area that I want to decorate with either a heat printing pillow or a print perfect pad. Now, I'm heat applying heat transfer film. Which one do you think I'm going to use today? So if you answered the heat printing pillow, you're right. So the reason that I'm going to use the pillow over the pad, both would work, but this is a very heat sensitive performance polo. It's a dark color. Sometimes when you use this print perfect pad and you have the hard edges, sometimes you get a little bit more of a mark than the soft edges of the pillow. And because I'm using heat transfer vinyl today that applies at a medium pressure, it's not a requirement to use the pad. I can get a nice medium pressure out of the pillow. All I'm trying to do is raise the print area above these buttons and seams. That way they're not going to interfere with my pressure or scorch. And so I love the pillow for heat transfer vinyl applications onto performance wear. You really need to make sure you don't have any like folds in the outer edge of the pillow. You just lay it in there, make sure the rest of your garment's flat, and then I will cover it with a cover sheet and get a feel for the pressure. The majority of the collar is still hanging off of the edge. I'm just going to lock it down. Now it's reading a 6 on my control board, which is a nice, actually the heavier side of a medium pressure. Normally a 5 would be a medium pressure, but I'm comfortable operating at a 6 because you do lose a little pressure with that pillow. So I always operate a little bit heavier with the pillow than the standard. Okay, now I have my press at 260 degrees. And so let me talk to you about ultra weed for a second. Ultra weed can apply at 260 degrees when you're going on 100% polyester or anything that's majority polyester. As soon as you get 50% cotton, 50% cotton in the garment, you need to go up on the temperature to 280 degrees. But we're dealing with 100% polyester here today, so I'm perfectly fine at 260 degrees. It's a single step application for 12 seconds. So I'm gonna take my design, my white design, stand up to make sure I get it straight because this is actually for a customer.
I didn't get that.
Whoop.
Try tapping above to end.
Siri wants to participate today. Let's try that again. So I'm going to position this into place. I'm going to grab the top shoulder and make sure I'm running a vertical line down to the center of the design. Typically on an adult shirt, I would center this design about 7 inches from the top shoulder. So if I'm measuring this down, I'm actually a little low in my placement. So I'm going to go ahead and bring that up. That's why it's always helpful to have a ruler nearby. There, we're centered on top shoulder. We're about 7 inches down to the center of the design from the collar. And hold it out, look straight. I'm ready to position and press. Okay, now if you have a laser alignment tool, congratulations, because you can now set your laser alignment device to put a box around that or a centering mark. And then every other shirt that you're going to press on this job, if you were doing a group, you can just hit it in the same place, right? Or if you're kind of like me, just cut a cardboard template out. And so it's something really quick that you can hold there to get that design in the same spot every time. But either way, we're going to cover it and we're going to press it for 12 seconds. I'm going to take a look at, looks like there's a lot of comments and questions coming in. Pillow. Yes, you guys were right. Some people were answering on a pillow. This is great. Alicia, you're definitely one of very few people, I think, that likes weeding detailed projects and finds it enjoyable. But I'm glad you do. I wish I did. It makes me stressed out when it's super high detail. As you saw here with the application of Ultra Weed, it's a single step, and you may have noticed it's a hot peel. It practically falls off of the garment. So at the end of it, if I remove my pillow and hold up my shirt, I have a nice, clean, white, completed design that's been printed on that. And because I'm at 260 degrees with the Ultra Weed, I'm not getting any scorching on the finished item. So really high end, really easy. Get it nice and straight. Let's see if I can throw it back on the hanger so you can see the placement a little better. And so you can see the placement and perspective. I know it's tough to see in here today with the lighting, but we're getting the horizontal or the vertical line down from the top shoulder all the way down. And I'm glad I did move my design up. I was way too low originally. So about 7 inches down to the center of your design. All right, let's go ahead and do the Nike Polo while we're here. Alicia asked, do I use a pillow on all of your projects? No, if I were just doing a t-shirt, I don't use the pillow. The main thing is getting the item flat. So when I'm doing performance wear, quarter zip, whatever it may be, that's where I find myself using the pillow to raise that print area. Never use a pillow with a screen printed transfer. So if you're using a screen printed transfer, even our digital screen printed transfers like Ultra Color, which is a great product for polos as well, if you want us to make the design for you, then I would use the Print Perfect pad or the Platin for sure. But it's much more difficult to place your design when you're dealing with those. So little tip I'm going to pick up on for myself for placement is just pulling that all the way down for my placement when I position it down, but I need to start with a preheat. Almost forgot that part of the process. I got it in there. I got my pillow in, and let's do a little preheat. Just tap it against it, get it flat, and more than removing, I know I always say removes the moisture and wrinkles. I've probably said that a million times in my life. But more than that, it warms the base so it can prepare to receive the adhesive and get to the melting point. So warming your garment or your platen or your pillow is absolutely critical to getting accurate application. So that's some of the reason for the preheat. There's actually not a lot of moisture in polyester, so a lot of people do skip the preheat. So I'm going to take my navy design, inspect it to make sure I have nothing kind of hanging behind here since we did this one live on air. Again, I'm going to position it. Grab my ruler and measure here. Seven inches down, pretty close. All right, now we're just going to retract it till we get that collar off of the edge. And then I'm going to cover and heat apply. So hopefully you're seeing we're getting a very high-end result. This is an automatic opening press, so you don't really have to babysit it. It'll open when it's done. It's one of our best-selling machines, the Hotronix Auto Clam. And hot peel right away. So you can just remove it right away. It doesn't hang on at all. It's very quick, very easy. And let's throw that on a hanger as well and let you see the finished result. And we have our finished logo, very clean edges, no scorching on the garment. So pretty simple project. It's okay to do simple. We like simple. So if you can keep things simple, keep them single color, small logo, keeps your cost down, starts to drive the profit up. All right, so we're getting some additional questions. Let me kick off this light so I'm not getting the background light. Sorry, like I said up front, I'm trying a new studio setup. I need to work on my lighting skills. I'm sure our video production manager, Joe, is cringing as he's watching me move around my lights here today. But that's all right. We'll figure it out. Sharon asked, can you use the 360 hat press for left chest? And so the 360 hat press, I don't think you would have any issues applying left chest as long as you follow the instructions for lower heat. Again, I would make sure that you are maybe taping down your design with thermal tape before you take it to the press if it doesn't have a sticky backing, just to make sure it's holding and it's in the right placement. Once you get something up on a hat press, it's very tough to get the placement right when you're not seeing the whole shirt. So that would be my tip there, and certainly would be good because of the heated lower to apply our dimensional logo products onto other items as well. All right, and then as far as determining the center point for the design that I just did, all I did was I pinched top shoulder right where your seam meets your collar of the shirt, typically if it's a normal collared shirt like this, and then you should run a vertical line down the center of your design. So even the shirt I'm wearing, it's positioned correctly, a vertical line down from that top shoulder, as long as it's not like a scoop neck or something like that. That'll help you find the center. And then, of course, 7 inches down is pretty good for an adult shirt. If it's youth, if it's extra small, if it's XXX, you may have to make some adjustments there. But that's we have a placement guide on the website that can help with that. Don't let it open on its own when you're sublimating, because it will create a ghosting effect with the auto open. So just make sure you grab the handle when it's prepared to open when you're doing sublimation. What's the jersey on the door? Did I make it? We do make jerseys like that at our Stalls DFC location. I'll show you. I'll show off my stuff. So I'm a big Celtics fan. I love basketball. So this is actually an authentic jersey I got after the Celtics won their last championship in 2008. And it was just a special edition of Champions. But the product that's used, I can walk you through that, although I bought this and didn't make it. This is tackle twill, and it's just sewn with a zigzag stitch. So you can order cut twill from Stalls. You can order twill numbering. And if you have an embroidery machine, you can sew it to be able to create looks like this. So it's just a polyester-based twill material that we sell. We sell it 3 ways: as poly twill, as perma twill, which means it doesn't need sewn, it just needs heat applied. And then another pressure-sensitive version that's good when you're doing multicolor designs out of twill material. All right. Stalls does sell the laser alignment. So if our team can share the link on YouTube for the laser alignment, we'll hook you up there. All right. And then the shirts, these particular shirts were sourced from Sanmar. Again, here are the style numbers. Let me just show them to you again. Open that up here. So the navy shirt was the first one I pressed, was the least expensive. That's style ST467. I love that style, honestly. I think other than the brand name, it's just as nice as the other two. Then the Nike shirt, the orange one, was $19.99, and the Ogio, which we haven't pressed yet. I need to bump up my temperature for the reflective material. So I'll do that now. You can see the style number on there as well. All right. Russ says, is Chrome better than Firefox for CADWorks? I find it. I always use CADWorks in Chrome, and it has very little issues that I experience there. So I love Chroma. I love Chrome. Chroma. All right. The best vinyl to heat press shirts, well, that's Ultraweed, of course, sold by Stalls. So if you're looking for the best heat transfer vinyl, Ultraweed. A lot of folks watching also like our Premium Plus. But Ultraweed is the one we use today for these performance shirts. I think it's the best when you need a super low temp and you don't want scorching. So that's over on stalls.com. I'll show you where the product is. So over here on stalls.com, all you do is go to the CAD cut section. Heat transfer vinyl, it's right here in our most popular. It's Ultraweed. And then you can see all the pricing and all the colors. Not only is it great as far as performance, we're running a deal on it right now. basically try 1 yard for $9.99. You do get free shipping right now on the product through the end of this month on the website. And if you don't like the product, just return and get your money back up to 1 yard. So it's like a no risk, try a yard. We just know that I think it's 98.9% or something people that have tried this product or like it. And we're seeing lots of reorders, which means people like it. Right now, we're at about 33 colors, and we'll be growing it out from there. And not only is it a nice product, but it's a cost-effective product. So a lot of the products on the market that are our competitors, you'll see 5 and 10 yard rolls that'll be about $1 more per yard. And so when you buy from Stalls or when you go find a Stalls reseller, which we have many of those around the country, not only are you going to get the quality product, but you're going to get a fair price on the product as well. All right, let's see, some more questions coming in. Russ asks, is the Premium Plus high tack better for small thin lettering compared to the low tack Premium Plus? Yes. I find that the Ultra Weed is similar to Premium Plus as far as detail if you're cutting it accurately. However, most people have issues cutting Premium Plus accurately on some of the more inexpensive cutters out there, where Ultra Weed tends to do a better job. So it's a little more forgiving for those who may not have the sharpest blade or the right blade depth, or maybe have an issue with setting their cutter up. So Ultra Weed's a little bit more goof proof, I guess you could say, than Premium Plus high tack. But if you have it set right and you have a quality cutter, you should be able to do similar detail out of both. All right. So Adam asks, has anybody ever made platens with beveled or tapered edges? We haven't, but we've created power platens, which heats from underneath, that are more of a pillow style than a platen. So those are a nice option to get rid of the scorch edges. Really what I found, it's almost always a pressure issue and a temperature issue. So if you're trying to get rid of scorching and you're up at 330 degrees, not going to happen. So if you can drop that temp down, and we're working to have more materials with lower temp adhesives, it'll make it a lot easier for you. All right. And then this is a great question. Do you ever hit again for a better press? Yeah, I have. So sometimes when I'm releasing the product and I don't trust that it's on there for whatever reason, there's no issue with ever heating and reheating. Frankly, because these were hot peel at the press, hitting it again may have taken me another 10 seconds and may have been worth it for peace of mind. I do know that when we do our lab testing, it's all single step application. So I know that these are going to last because I reviewed in detail all the lab tests at 260 degrees for 12 seconds. Actually, I reviewed them from 8 seconds all the way up to 15 seconds at 260 degrees across different fabrics. And 12 seconds is very reliable across 100% polyester fabrics out there. So I'm not worried about hitting these again. All right. And congratulations. We have a new member of the Fusion family. It is one of my favorite presses as well. I just don't have the space for it here at home. All right. And a little testimonial on Ultra Weed. Thanks for sharing. And yes, Kevin, Ultra Weed does work with a silhouette vinyl cutter. Actually, believe it or not, probably can't see it, but that little box underneath the light there, that is a silhouette cutter. So I have come over to the dark side, and I'm going to at some point set that thing up and start incorporating that in some of my videos, because I know a lot of you own that cutter. And the good news is we sent one to Jenna as well, so she'll start having it in her videos as well. It's a nice, reliable little cutter. We don't sell it at Stalls, but we know a lot of you have it, so we're going to educate on it. Yeah, and if you're still getting a slight edge at 280 degrees with Ultra Weed, you may want to, if it's, again, as long as it's not 50% cotton, if it's like polyester or rayon, like a tri-blend, go down to 260, and you can run it at 260. Try that. All right, good. So hopefully you guys are enjoying this. I think we're up to my final application setting, and let me think how to position this one. I'm going to break the rules of the application setting that we publish on our website. And the reason why is because I've taken the time on my own to test this product at lower application. I'm going to use the reflective product. Our website says 325 degrees. I'm really worried about scorching that polo at 325 degrees. I've before tried this product on 100% polyester down at 290 degrees. Actually, I've done hundreds of track jackets that way for my daughter's dance school, and know that they've been beat up and washed and last at that setting. So I'm going to go ahead and run 290 degrees on this polo and have confidence in that. So the lesson is, of course, you want to follow the instructions on our website from the manufacturer to start, but don't be afraid to try things. Usually when you're going to polyester, you can get away with a lower application temperature than what's stated. But try it yourself, experiment with it, wash test it to build up the confidence and maybe get yourself a little bit of a competitive edge in the market. So let's bring it back to the heat press. And I'm going to grab that last polo that I had. It'll be the same step. I'm going to operate without the bright light behind me because I think that was making it worse, actually. So this has a little bit of stretch to it as well, but I'm not worried about having a high stretch material because it's just a small left chest placement. There's no way it's going to get the type of stretch that you would get, say, from yoga pants or leggings, sports bra, something like that. So I'm not too worried about having a high stretch material. Going to insert my pillow, cover it, preheat. Take my reflective design, black reflective. It's more like a charcoal, I guess, but it's definitely not silver. The cool thing about this product is it's going to give me the tonal effect I'm after. But when light hits it at night, it's going to reflect silver back to the source. So it's not ANSI certified or anything like that, like our 3M reflective is, but it's a nice product as an option for like more of a fashion result. So top shoulder, 7 inches down for the center of my design. Having a theme here of putting my designs a little bit too low, so I'll bring that up. When it's a 3-button shirt, it always throws me off. And honestly, there's a little bit more flexibility now with branding locations. I personally, on my polos, like to have my logo sit a little bit higher. I feel like it's a little bit more on trend, I guess, and forward rather than just the traditional placement. So feel free to experiment. I know a lot of people that won't even print a left chest anymore. They'll do a back shoulder print. So you can be creative with where you're applying these designs when you're decorating polos. Also, merchandise extra branding locations for a little small logo. You can always do, a sleeve print or the back shoulder, something of that nature. And so in this case, I know when I'm pressing the polyester, I just want to give this a few seconds to cool down. Don't need to remove it completely from the press. And then I'm going to delicately grab the edge and pull it away just to make sure it doesn't need to cool down more. No problem. Take my time. No reason to rush that. Nice clean release. And again, on this, because I've broken the application instructions to the question that was asked earlier, do you ever hit it a second time? Just for assurance for myself, I'm going to go ahead and hit this one a second time. And another reason why I do that is because when I was releasing that carrier, if it's at all wanting to lift the edge of the letters, I feel like I've broken the edge of that letter while the adhesive was still hot. You're not going to see that on Ultra Weave. The carrier just falls away. But for something like this, where it's a little bit more of a special effect, I don't mind hitting that again with a cover sheet for the 12 seconds. I'm not going to damage my shirt. And another tip is when you're dealing with, throw this back on the hanger, when you're dealing with high-end stuff, these patterns work to your advantage. So even if there were a slight scorch mark, and I really don't think there is on this, I'll show it to you. But that pattern and that line is going to draw your eye away from it. So you're not going to get that hard edge. So even though these patterns make the garment look premium, it also helps to hide any potential scorching when you're doing your decoration. So you can see the finished result there, a nice tonal effect. I'll take a photo of this and post it in our Facebook group with my flash on so you can see what happens. Actually, let me just see if I can do that now. So I always like when you're merchandising to customers, do this as well so they can see the effect. They can shine a flashlight on it if you're in person, but if you're not in person, just shoot a photo with the flash on and you'll see how now it's showing up silver. So it reflects the light directly back to the source, which is really cool. So that's my high-end option. So all very easy to do. All you need is a heat press. If you have a vinyl cutter, great. If you don't have a vinyl cutter, we can cut and weed it for you. But I think vinyl cutters, for the price of them, like these Silhouette and Cricut cutters, it's at least worth getting in the game to do some basic designs. Yeah, so once you get one, typically you add a lot more. So Chris has 2 cameos and a Graph Tech. So now I'll have a Graph Tech and a Cameo. It's the latest Cameo 4 as well, so I'm excited to open that and see it. All right, so I think we're caught up on questions. Hopefully I covered everything I wanted to. I think I did. And you enjoyed the presentation today and picked up an idea or two on how to present product, or maybe a how-to of how to press a product. But my last encouragement is get into the business market. Small business is a phenomenal opportunity for those that own a vinyl cutter and a heat press. With the right materials, with the right know-how, it's actually easier than you think. And as you saw on these jobs, I was making $10 to $15 in profit on a polo at the pricing you guys said you could sell it for, potentially much more. So if you can land an order, we know it takes a couple minutes a shirt with lining it up. I can do 30 shirts an hour. That's $300 an hour at my heat press if I can sell the work. So with that in mind, have a great rest of your week and have a phenomenal weekend. And make sure if you have questions or you complete some work, share it with us on Facebook. We'd love to see what you're doing. We'll see y'all later.